The signal from the void. Dr. Elena Vega pressed her palm against the reinforced viewport of Helios Station, watching as strange ripples of darkness moved across the starfield. Despite the station's excellent environmental controls, she felt a chill run through her body that had nothing to do with temperature. "They're moving again," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Commander Rick Santos looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes betraying his lack of sleep over the past 72 hours. "The sensors are picking up gravitational distortions, but still no visual confirmation." Helios Station hung in the emptiness of space like a delicate crystal ornament, a remote human research outpost situated on the outer rim of the Orion Arm, far from the busy trade routes of the Galactic Concordat. The station was tasked with studying the unusual phenomena that had been detected in this sector over the past 3 months, phenomena that the Concordat scientific community had dismissed as insignificant anomalies. But humans, with their natural curiosity and stubborn persistence, traits that had earned them the nickname Deathworlders among the various alien species of the Concordat, had volunteered to investigate. "Look between the stars, not at them," Elena said, pointing to a patch of seemingly empty space. "There, that darkness is deeper than it should be." Dr. Maya Chen joined them at the viewport, her eyes narrowing as she followed Elena's direction. "You're right. It's as if the very fabric of space is being consumed." In the station's communications hub, Technical Officer Javier Rodriguez frowned at his displays. "We've got a problem," he announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "The quantum relay is experiencing interference. I can't establish a connection with Concordat Central." "Try the backup channels," Santos ordered, a note of concern creeping into his voice. "Already did. Something's blocking all standard frequencies." Elena turned away from the viewport, her face grim. "Use the emergency protocols. Route through the old Earth channels." "Those haven't been used in decades," Maya said. "Exactly. Whatever's out there might not know about them." As Javier reconfigured the communications array, the station's lights flickered momentarily. The 4 humans exchanged worried glances. "Power fluctuation?" Santos asked, his hand instinctively moving to the sidearm at his hip, a habit from his years in Earth's defense forces. Maya checked the readings on her tablet. "No, our systems are fine. Something's draining energy from outside." The darkness between the stars seemed to shift, moving closer to the station. Elena felt a primal fear rise within her, an instinct honed on Earth's challenging environment telling her that they were being hunted. "Javier, how's that transmission coming?" she called. "Almost there, routing through the emergency." A thunderous boom echoed through the station as something struck the outer hull. Warning alarms blared, and emergency lights bathed the interior in pulsing red. "Hull breach in Section 3. Maya shouted over the noise. "Seal the bulkheads," Santos commanded, drawing his weapon. "Everyone to the emergency pods." Another impact rocked the station, stronger than the first. Through the viewport, Elena saw something massive and dark slide across the stars, blotting them out like an ink stain spreading across fabric. "They're here," she whispered. Javier worked frantically at his console, sending emergency signal now. Adding message. "Unknown hostiles attacking. Not natural phenomenon. Prepare for extinction-level threat." The station shuddered again, and the artificial gravity fluctuated. Elena grabbed her personal data drive and stuffed it into her pocket. If they couldn't survive, at least their research might. "Signal sent," Javier announced, relief evident in his voice, "using old Earth military encryption. If anyone's listening." The viewport cracked, a spiderweb of fractures spreading across its surface. Santos grabbed Elena's arm and pulled her toward the escape pods. "We need to go. Now." The 4 researchers raced through the corridors of the dying station. Behind them, the darkness poured in through the breached sections, consuming everything it touched. Elena looked back once, witnessing the impossible. The darkness had form, had purpose. It moved with intelligence, hunting them through their own station. "It's following us," she yelled. They reached the pod bay, but only one emergency vessel remained intact. Santos punched the launch sequence as they piled inside. "Will it hold all of us?" Maya asked, strapping herself into one of the 4 seats. "It has to," Santos replied grimly, sealing the hatch. The pod detached from the station with a violent jerk, its small engines firing at maximum capacity. Through the narrow viewport, they watched as Helios Station was engulfed by the darkness, its lights blinking out one by one. "Did the signal get through?" Elena asked, her voice small against the roar of the engines. Javier checked the pod's communication system. "Yes, but I don't know if it was received." The darkness surged from the dying station, reaching out toward their tiny vessel like grasping fingers. "Faster," Santos urged the pod's simple AI. "Maximum thrust." But the darkness moved faster, wrapping around the escape pod, tendrils of void pulling at its hull. The metal groaned under the strain, and warning lights flashed across the control panel. "It's going to tear us apart," Maya whispered. Elena closed her eyes, thinking of Earth, the planet that had forged humanity through countless challenges, the homeworld that had taught them to survive against all odds. "If we don't make it," she said, "someone has to warn them." The pod's hull gave way with a screech of tortured metal, and the cold of space rushed in. Across Concordat space, aliens of different species went about their daily lives, unaware of the struggle happening at the edge of explored territory. In discussions and trade negotiations, they occasionally spoke of humans, the strange beings from a world so dangerous that most Concordat species would die within minutes on its surface. Deathworlders, they called them, with a mixture of fear and grudging respect. On the Concordat security vessel Water Dancer, Senior Officer Zilksten received the first alert about Helios Station's silence. His iridescent scales shimmered under the ship's lights as he reviewed the report. "Human research station," he chittered to himself. "Probably just their primitive equipment failing again." His assistant, another Venzari, clicked her mandibles in agreement. "Shall we delay investigation until after the diplomatic conference?" Zilkstan was about to concur when a secondary alert flashed on his screen, an automated ping on a frequency that hadn't been used in the official Concordat channels. "Strange," he said, compound eyes narrowing. "They're using an emergency channel that predates Concordat protocols." Something in his ancestral memory stirred, a warning about what it meant when humans prepared for the worst. "Change course for Helios Station," he ordered. "Maximum speed." 3 days later, Zilkston floated in the empty shell of the Human Research Station, his environmental suit protecting him from the vacuum. The place was eerily intact from the outside, but inside, entire sections had simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone, as if they had never existed. In the communications room, a single console still had power. On it, an emergency beacon pointed toward Earth blinked steadily. Zilkstan ran his scanner over it and froze when he saw the message it contained. It was not the scientific data or standard distress call he expected. It was a single phrase encoded in an ancient human military cipher that his translation software barely recognized. HFYWOWFEVERS FUONFIRNID Extinction Ero Tov COL authorized. All ASATs respawned. Zilkstan didn't understand what it meant, but he felt a deep primal fear wash over him. Something terrible had awakened, and the humans were calling their kind to war. Admiral Leah Donovan stood at the large viewport in her office deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, looking at the holographic display of Earth's orbital defense network. At 64, she had spent most of her life serving in the Human Defense Force, a military organization whose true size and capabilities were among humanity's most closely guarded secrets. The small quantum communicator in her hand chimed again, demanding attention. She looked down at the screen and felt her heart race. The code display there had not been used in over a century. "Computer, verify signal origin," she said, her voice steady despite her racing thoughts. Signal verified. Origin, Research Outpost Helios, Sector 9, Outer Rim, the eye replied. Leah closed her eyes briefly. Alert the Defense Council. Emergency meeting in 1 hour. Across the planet, 12 men and women received the same alert, dropping whatever they were doing to head to the underground facility. Some came from civilian positions where they had been hiding in plain sight, others from military posts scattered around the solar system. Leah entered the council chamber last, the faces around the table grim, some showing fear. "I assume you've all seen the signal," she said, taking her seat at the head of the table. General Marcus Chen, head of ground forces, nodded. "It's authentic. Sent from Helios Station 3 days ago." "The Concordat knows nothing about this?" asked Director Sarah Okonkwo, the civilian representative. "Not yet," Lee replied. "But they will soon. Officer Zilkstan of the Venzeri Security Force is investigating the station's silence as we speak." The room grew quiet as everyone considered what was coming next. "We all knew this day might come," Lee finally said. "We hoped it wouldn't, but we prepared anyway." On the large screen behind her, a map of human territory appeared. Scattered across it were hundreds of small red dots, each representing a hidden location. Bunkers, underwater bases, and hollowed-out asteroids containing humanity's secret fleet. "Is it time to wake the Armada?" asked Admiral Wei, his weathered hands clasped tightly in front of him. Leah nodded slowly. "The emergency code is clear. Extinction-level threat. If Dr. Vega sent that signal, she had good reason." "The Concordat will see this as a breach of our treaties," Sarah pointed out, concern evident in her voice. "The treaties always had exceptions," Leah reminded her, "in case of threats that endanger all sentient life." The vote was quick and unanimous. Leah pressed her palm to the scanner in front of her, and 12 others did the same. "Activation code accepted," the computer announced. "Awakening sequence initiated." Across human space, in deep mountain bunkers, underwater bases, and hollowed-out asteroids, ancient systems hummed to life. Massive doors that had not opened in centuries began to slide apart. In a facility beneath the North American continent, row after row of lights came on, revealing enormous warships. Destroyers, carriers, and specialized combat vessels kept ready by generations of quiet caretakers. Similar scenes played out on Mars, Europa, and a dozen human colonies. The sleeping Armada, hidden since humans first encountered alien life, was waking up. In her private office after the meeting, Leah received a secure communication from Helios Station's backup systems. She watched in silence as Dr. Elena Vega's final recorded message played. "They moved between the stars like shadows," Elena's tired face explained. "We've tracked their path through the void. They've consumed worlds before, many galaxies worth. They strip everything, resources, life, even the fabric of space-time itself. We tried to study them safely, but they found us. If you're seeing this, Admiral, they've taken us. Wake them all up. Wake the Armada." The screen went dark. Leah sat alone in the silence, thinking of the chaos that would soon sweep through the Concordat when they discovered humanity's greatest secret. Her personal communicator chimed. "Admiral, Concordat Ambassador Kovex has arrived in orbit. He's requesting an emergency meeting regarding Helios Station." Leah took a deep breath. "Tell him I'll meet him in 1 hour." She walked to the viewport again, looking up at the ceiling that concealed a mountain above, and soon, humanity's true power would be revealed to the stars. "And so it begins," she whispered to herself, straightening her uniform before heading to meet the alien diplomat who had no idea what was coming. Deathworlders unleashed. Ambassador Kovex was not happy. His 4 sensory stalks quivered with agitation as his shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere. As a senior representative of the Galactic Concordat, he had expected more information about the missing research station by now. Instead, he had received only short, vague messages from Earth's officials. Approaching human military headquarters, his pilot announced, Unusual activity detected across the planet. Kvex moved to the viewport. Below, what had once been empty fields and mountains now revealed massive open doors built into the landscape. Ships, warships unlike anything he had ever seen, were emerging from hidden underground bases. "What is happening?" he whispered, his translator picking up his words and converting them to standard Concordat language. The shuttle landed on a pad where Dr. Thomas Henderson, Earth's representative to the Concordat, waited. Thomas was tall for a human, with silver-streaked hair and a serious expression. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Kvex," Thomas said with a respectful bow. "I apologize for the unusual circumstances of your visit." Kvex's upper sensory stalks narrowed. "Explain these ships, Representative Henderson." The Concordat was not informed of such military power. Thomas nodded. "Please, let's speak inside." In a plain meeting room, Kvex watched data screens showing more and more ships appearing across human territory. Some were massive, larger than anything the Concordat races had built in centuries of relative peace. "This violates our treaties," Kvex said, his voice cold. "Humans promised to limit military forces." Thomas sat across from him. "With respect, Ambassador, we promised to limit visible forces. There was always an exception for extinction-level threats." "What threat?" Kvex demanded. "One research station goes silent, and humans reveal an armada." Thomas touched a control, and Dr. Vega's final message played. Kvex watched in silence, his skin paling to an ashen gray as he understood. "Shadows between stars," he said quietly when the message ended. "The ancient texts speak of such things, void feeders that come from the darkness between galaxies." "Then you understand why we maintain the fleet," Thomas said. "Humanity evolved on a world that tried to kill us daily. We learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." Kvex's lower stalks drooped in thought. "How long has this sleeping armada existed?" "Since first contact," Thomas admitted. 300 years. On the screens around them, live feeds showed ships rising from oceans, emerging from mountain bases, and assembling in orbit. The scale was stunning. Hundreds of vessels, many bearing designs and technology that seemed decades beyond what humans had publicly displayed. "The Concordat High Council must be informed," Kvex said, his voice subdued. Thomas nodded. "Admiral Donovan wants to address them directly. We need a united response." Meanwhile, far from Earth, Scout Captain Amara Chen guided her small but powerful ship toward the last known location of Helia Station. Unlike the larger vessels of the Armada, Scout ships had remained active, disguised as commercial vessels or research craft. Approaching target coordinates, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Omar Khan, reported. No sign of the research station. Amara frowned, her fingers tapping a nervous rhythm on the armrest of her command chair. "Scan for debris." "Nothing," Omar said after a moment. "It's as if the station just vanished." Amara had served 20 years in the Scouts. She never lost the alertness that came from growing up in Earth's still wild frontiers. "Full stop," she ordered suddenly. "Passive scans only." The crew obeyed without question. "Captain," Omar asked quietly. Amara pointed to the view screen. "Look at the star patterns. Something's wrong." Omar studied the display. "They look normal to me." "That star there," Amara said, pointing to a bright point. "It's Deneb, but it's 3 degrees off from where it should be." Understanding dawned on Omar's face, light bending around something massive. Amara nodded grimly. "Something that doesn't want to be seen." She moved to the communications console. "Prepare a tight beam transmission to Admiral Donovan. Tell her, target located. Shadow feeders confirmed. Awaiting orders." As the message was coded and sent, Amara watched the seemingly empty space ahead. Something was there, something enormous that bent light around it like a cloak. "And they've been watching us all along," she whispered. The Concordat High Council chamber on the neutral world of Harmony was filled to capacity. Representatives from all 37 member species sat in rising tiers around the central platform, where Admiral Leah Donovan now stood, flanked by 2 human guards. The revelation of humanity's hidden Armada had sent shockwaves through galactic society. Some counselors called for sanctions, others for humanity's expulsion from the Concordat. A few whispered of war. High Counselor Jetlock, a towering insectoid from the oldest spacefaring race, raised his forelegs for silence. Admiral Donovan has requested this emergency session to address the Council regarding the threat that has apparently necessitated this dramatic revelation. Leah stepped forward, her uniform pristine, her posture straight despite the gravity of the situation. Honorable Counselors, I come before you not to apologize for humanity's preparations, but to warn you of a threat that concerns us all. The Shadow Feeders, entities that consume not just matter and energy, but space-time itself, have entered our galaxy. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. These are myths, called out Counselor Brent of the Salaxi Confederation. Stories to frighten children. They are real, Leah countered, and they have already claimed Helia Station and its crew. She activated a holographic display showing the final moments recorded from the station, the strange darkness consuming sections of the structure, leaving nothing behind. Our scout ships have confirmed a massive presence at the edge of the Orion Arm. Based on its trajectory, it will reach inhabited Concordat worlds within 30 standard days. The chamber erupted in chaos. Jetlock called for order repeatedly before the noise subsided. What do you propose, Admiral? The High Counselor asked. A united defense. The human Armada is moving to intercept, but we would welcome Concordat support. Why should we trust you? Counselor Brent demanded. You've hidden your true strength from us for centuries. Leah's expression remained calm. Because whatever you think of our deception, humanity has never sought conquest or dominion. We prepared not out of aggression, but out of the caution that evolution on a dangerous world taught us. She paused, looking around the chamber. We are Deathworlders, yes. Our planet forged us through fire and challenge. But that makes us uniquely suited to face this threat. High Counselor Jetlock's compound eyes studied her for a long moment. The Council will deliberate, but time is short. Your fleet has permission to transit Concordat space to reach the threat. 1 week later, the human Armada assembled at the edge of the Orion Arm. 500 vessels arranged in battle formation, from nimble corvettes to massive dreadnoughts that had never seen actual combat. On the flagship Defiance, Admiral Donovan received the latest reports from the scout ships, maintaining a perimeter around the anomaly. It's growing, Captain Chen reported via hologram. Consuming more space by the hour. We've recorded 3 star systems simply disappearing. Casualties? Leah asked. Minimal. They were uninhabited systems, thankfully. But the pattern suggests intelligence. It's expanding along paths that lead to populated worlds. The bridge door slid open, and Ambassador Kivex entered, accompanied by several alien military officers. Admiral. He greeted her formally. The Concordat High Council has reached a decision. 40% of our available military forces will join your fleet. Leah nodded, hiding her relief. Thank you, Ambassador. Your ships will be welcomed. There is a condition, Kivex added. We request integration of command structures, joint decision-making. Agreed, Leah said without hesitation. This threat concerns us all. Within hours, Concordat vessels began arriving, sleek, organic-looking ships that contrasted with the more angular human designs. Despite centuries of hidden tension, the 2 fleets merged with surprising efficiency, united by a common enemy. On the tactical display, the darkness continued to grow. All ships, battle stations, Leah ordered, prepare to engage. The human Concordat fleet moved forward as one, weapons charged, shields at maximum. They approached the edge of the anomaly where stars simply ceased to exist. No response to communications, reported the comms officer. If they can hear us, they're not answering. Launch probes, Leah commanded. Let's see what we're dealing with. Dozens of unmanned vehicles sped ahead of the fleet, their sensors recording everything as they approached the darkness. On the main screen, Leah watched as the probes reached the boundary and simply vanished. "No destruction signature," said the science officer. "No debris. They're just gone." Kvex's sensory stalks quivered. It's as the ancient texts described. The void consumes everything. Leah's mind raced. How do you fight something that absorbs matter, energy, and space itself? "New contact," shouted the sensor officer. "Something's emerging from the anomaly." The darkness bulged outward, and from it emerged something. Not a ship, not a creature, but a construct of some kind. A massive sphere of what appeared to be condensed darkness, surrounded by tendrils that reached out like grasping fingers. "All ships, maintain position," Leah ordered. "Do not fire unless fired upon." The construct moved closer, its tendrils expanding toward the fleet. "It's scanning us," the science officer reported. "Energy patterns suggest curiosity." Ambassador Kvex stepped forward. "Admiral, the texts speak of attempts at communication. The void feeders do not perceive reality as we do. They may not even recognize us as sentient." Leah nodded. "Open all communication channels. Broadcast on all frequencies." For several tense minutes, the fleet transmitted greetings and peaceful intentions in every language and format known to the Concordat. The construct remained motionless, its dark tendrils suspended in space. Then, without warning, it struck. A tendril lashed out, wrapping around a Concordat cruiser. The ship's shields flared briefly before collapsing, and then, to the horror of everyone watching, the vessel began to fold in on itself, compressed into nothingness, as if it had never existed. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Leah shouted, "weapons free." The fleet scattered as dozens of tendrils shot out from the construct. Energy weapons and missile salvos launched toward the darkness, only to be absorbed without effect. 3 more ships vanished in quick succession. 2 human destroyers and another Concordat vessel. "Conventional weapons are useless," Kvex said, his voice trained. "The darkness absorbs everything." Leah's mind raced. They needed something the darkness couldn't simply consume. Something different. "Science officer, what happens when we create a vacuum within a vacuum?" she asked suddenly. "Admiral, if the shadow feeders consume energy and matter, what would happen if we created a space where there's nothing to consume?" "A negative space." Understanding dawned on the officer's face. "The quantum void projectors. They were designed to create bubbles of null space for FTL experiments." "Can they be weaponized?" "Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to get close, dangerously close." Leah turned to Kvex. "Ambassador, does the Concordat have any similar technology? Anything that creates absence rather than presence?" Kvex's sensory stalks twitched in thought. "The Marizani developed dimensional folding technology. Their ships can create pocket dimensions, small spaces separate from our reality." "Perfect," Leah said. "Here's what we're going to do." The battle raged for hours. Ship after ship fell to the darkness, consumed without trace. But slowly, the combined fleet implemented Admiral Donovan's desperate plan. Specially equipped vessels, human ships with quantum void projectors, and Concordat craft with dimensional folders, maneuvered into position around the construct, creating a complex geometric pattern. "All designated ships in position," reported Lieutenant Khan from the tactical station. Leah took a deep breath. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute." Simultaneously, 27 ships activated their specialized equipment. Bubbles of null space and pocket dimensions bloomed around the dark construct, not attacking it directly but creating a complex web of reality distortions. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The construct writhed, its tendrils retracting as if in pain. The darkness began to collapse in on itself, unable to consume what wasn't there. "It's working," Kvex exclaimed. The void feeder can't process the contradictions in space-time. All ships maintain positions. Leah ordered. Increase power to the projectors. The construct spasmed violently, portions of it folding into impossible geometries as it was caught between the overlapping fields of null space and pocket dimensions. Then, with a silent flash that temporarily blinded the fleet's sensors, it imploded, collapsing into a pinpoint of infinite density before vanishing entirely. Where the darkness had been, stars reappeared, including the light from systems that had been consumed. Somehow, the destruction of the construct had restored what it had taken. A cheer erupted across the fleet's communication channels. Human and Concordat crews alike celebrated their improbable victory. But Leah's relief was short-lived. Senators, analysts, she called. Status of the main anomaly. Still present. Admiral, came the response. But it's retreating. Moving away from Concordat space at increasing speed. On the main screen, the edge of darkness that had threatened to consume worlds was indeed shrinking, pulling back from the combined fleet as if afraid. Kvex turned to Leah, his sensory stalks extended in what humans had learned was an expression of respect. It seems the Deathworlders have taught the darkness to fear. 3 months later, Admiral Leah Donovan stood before the Concordat High Council once more. The chamber was subdued, the mood solemn, but no longer hostile. The combined fleet has confirmed that the shadow feeder anomaly has left our galaxy, she reported. Long-range sensors detect it moving toward intergalactic space. High Counselor Jetlak nodded his massive head. Thanks to humanity's preparation and deception, the threat has been averted. Not deception, Leah corrected gently. Preparation. Humanity has always understood that peace is not the natural state of the universe. Danger exists whether we acknowledge it or not. And what of your Armada now? Asked Counselor Brent, who had been among the most vocal critics of humanity's secret fleet. Will it return to hiding? Leah shook her head. No, the time for secrets is past. We propose integration of the Human Defense Force into the Concordat's security structure, with full transparency and joint command, as we demonstrated during the crisis. The Council murmured in surprise. You would place your military might under Concordat authority? Jetlak asked, clearly skeptical. We would place it alongside Concordat authority, Leah clarified, as equals committed to mutual defense. The debate that followed was long and intense, but the experience of fighting together against an existential threat had changed perspectives throughout the galaxy. Species that had once feared and mistrusted the Deathworlders from Earth now saw value in their caution and preparation. When the vote finally came, it was overwhelmingly in favor of humanity's proposal. 1 year later, a new facility was under construction in Earth orbit, a massive space station that would serve as the headquarters for the Combined Defense Force, a joint human Concordat military organization tasked with protecting all member worlds. In her office overlooking the construction, Admiral Donovan met with Captain Chen, recently promoted after her crucial role in the battle against the shadow feeders. Leah's expression grew serious. Perhaps. The universe is vast and full of dangers we can't imagine. But next time, we won't face them alone. On a screen behind them, a fleet of ships, human and alien designs flying together, patrolled the edge of explored space. The Deathworlders had emerged from their hidden preparation, and the galaxy was stronger for it. We always knew a day might come when humanity's greatest strength would be tested, Leah said softly. Not our technology or our weapons, but our determination to survive against all odds. Amara nodded. The signal that awakened the Armada saved us all. No, Leah corrected her. It was what the signal represented. Humanity's refusal to be unprepared, our insistence on being ready even when others thought it unnecessary. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, and among them, the combined fleet stood watch, a testament to the lesson that the Deathworlders had taught the galaxy. Peace was precious precisely because it was never guaranteed.